8 teams won for the first time in week 5, and Dort won for the first time in 19 tries against Northwestern. And guess what? Montana Tech, they're 5-0 for the first time ever. We have a lot to talk about tonight on college football this week. But first, I want to say, hey, you are awesome. Thank you very much for stopping by Midwest Sports Net and for tonight's show, College Football This Week. We want to get things going with one of the biggest games on the docket of the week. And in doing so, I am going to bring in tonight's guest, who is Scott McCauley. He is the voice of the Marion Knights. And Marion came away with a big-time victory against Indiana Wesleyan this week. Scott, first off, thanks for taking time with us tonight and being on the broadcast. You look at the game and your overall take on it. I think one of the first things, the big things, is that it stopped a 4-game slide against Indiana Wesleyan. And, in and of itself, there's a win right there.
It was a big win. And Joey, thank you for having me tonight. It's a pleasure. I love talking with you and about college football and the small college football. So it's a pleasure to be here. And yeah, a lot of questions were answered yesterday by Ted Karras and the Marion Knights. And you mentioned 4 straight losses to Indiana Wesleyan. Look, there's a lot of people that know that Marion for the last 15 years has been the bully in the Mid-States Conference. And Indiana Wesleyan, they came on board in 19 and started to win games. They've got a tremendous stadium and facility, and they're an excellent program that has jumped to heights that a lot of schools have to take their time to get there. So that was a big win yesterday for Marion. 4 losses, and some of them were classics. Last year's was humiliation, but this year was, without a doubt, that game was a playoff atmosphere game from start to finish.
Absolutely. You got started, and by the way, 52-42, that was the final in that big-time matchup, 94 points on the board. Marion got on the board first, and I would think no surprise, because this game had to be circled on the calendar from last year. Just the absolute, almost surreal game and final that was a 77-21 victory for Indiana Wesleyan. But it's circled on the calendar. They get on the board first, and then Indiana Wesleyan with a 21-point second quarter. Are you thinking at any point, no, this can't happen 2 years in a row?
We didn't think 2 years in a row, because at least they had to punt at some point. That was already different.
Yes.
But at halftime, Zach Graves, who I do the games with, a former Knight, he and I are talking. We're like, okay, let's start to work backwards here. The defense has to hold them, because candidly, you didn't think Marion had 52 points in them. You thought they would need to score 2 or 3 touchdowns to win this game. So that meant the defense would have to step up. But we did think that Marion would have to adjust a little bit on offense, and they did. It was a different style they presented in the second half, and that worked for them offensively, because both teams made critical plays on offense when they needed to. They took advantage of mistakes by the defense, and it was a lot of fun, back and forth. But the thing that stood out to me was this was the first time in Ted Karras 2.0 that Marion scored points, like points that mattered. We all know come playoffs, everyone says defense wins championships, but you have to score points. Like opportunistic defenses win championships, but in the playoffs, you have to put up points, and that has been an Achilles heel for Marion in the last couple of playoffs, is putting up points. That was the big thing that stood out to me, was this was an offense against a good defense capable of really flipping a game in the second half. We have not seen that here in year 3 of the Karras era.
I like that, Karras 2.0. There are coaches coming back to their programs, and it seems to be something, it's not necessarily, I wouldn't call it a trend, but it's been happening around the country in different levels. So that's something to watch there. So back there, and for Marion, you talk about the points, scoring those points, 7 different players cross the goal line. How big is that then from the perspective then that you're bringing out to have to score points? Well, now you're getting it from a myriad of different facets.
2 names, Aiden Warner and Ben Uran. Warner scores first on a 51-yard pass play. And then Uran has basically the third quarter of his life, 1 career catch. This is his 6th year. He was the only player on the roster in the spring 20 season when Marion last beat Indiana Wesleyan. He ends up with 5 catches in the quarter. And it's just incredible that he was making these plays. But the big thing was the Wildcats were taking away Reichert. They were taking away the favorite target, the number one option. And to see Tristan Polk, the fifth-year senior quarterback, trust other players, that he loves to lock in on 7, to see his willingness to go to those other players and see them step up, that was a curveball that I think was unexpected for Indiana Wesleyan, and a lot of Marion fans were pleased to see all those different players find the end zone.
Yeah, Reichert's the known quantity. And then for Uran, who, by the way, had a touchdown catch that was a go-ahead touchdown catch, and Indiana Wesleyan comes back, and then ultimately Reichert gets the game-winning touchdown grab and all of that. 96 career receptions now, so he's heading for that number 100 mark. Do you have the Reichert count going on?
Yeah, it will be top 10 in school history. Last year, he was the 9th player to have over 1,000 yards. And what's crazy is he has made the really good plays, like the high leaping, climb the ladder type catches throughout his career. And he's made the difficult look really routine. But coming in here, he didn't have the fanfare of some of the other players. And just to see a guy stick it out year after year and not leave school, you have a good year, maybe it's a chance to leave school. And then now for this senior year to put up these numbers, it's pretty special for him, and it's special to watch.
Scott, you were talking about defense, and that to me seems to may or may not be the hallmark of the Marion team, but it has been a calling card, definitely in recent years with one of the players, Dion Pettiford. Now, the all-time leader in tackles for loss. He didn't have any sacks. I don't think he had any tackles for loss in this game, but he did have a forced fumble. And from the offensive perspective, you were talking about Reichert. That was a known quantity. On the defensive side, as Indiana Wesleyan, they had to watch for Pettiford. Was that something that was a case where other players stepped up, where maybe he didn't have all the same numbers from before?
Marion came into this game with 18 sacks. They were tops in the country in that total. And,
yes, we've talked about that here. We'll talk about it again later tonight. But yeah, that was a big number.
And 0 sacks allowed coming into that game for Indiana Wesleyan. Well, Marion didn't get their hands on the quarterback because he gets rid of the ball so quickly. Like, they are so well coached. They really play to their strengths. The quarterback, he has a terrific rhythm, a terrific eye, the way that he's able to move that ball around. Lothe sees his target and throws it. Marion couldn't get their hands on him. But Dion Pettiford was the starting defensive end. He has been for multiple years at Marion with the TFL stats. However, he's lost that starting role now to a couple of freshmen, Ozzie Pollard, who is NBA great Scott Pollard's son, and then another one on the defensive end, Darian Dixon, a redshirt freshman. Those two have stepped in, but Pettiford has that C on his chest for a reason. He now maybe isn't getting the reps, but the reps that he's getting now are quality. They look a little bit better than they did last year. So we give him all the credit in the world to let a couple of freshmen get out there on that front four and for him to spell them on passing downs and big plays. Yeah, he's a guy that you can count on every single week. And now he might be a little more fresh than he has been in the past because he's had to take a little bit of a step back.
I think if we don't mention a couple of names here, I would be negligent in talking about Marion football. So you talked about Tristan Polk and his trust in other receivers when he needed to have that. I'd love to hear your take not only on the game. He was 15 for 30, so 50% passing, 261 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, did not throw an interception in the game, but also Keegan LaBelle, a running back that is going to draw the attention of opposing scouting no matter what game they play.
Keegan had 11 carries at the half. And when Marion got off to the early lead, he was having a lot of success. And then when Indiana Wesleyan had the 3 touchdown second quarter, you start to ask yourself, don't get away from LaBelle. Don't get away from Keegan. Well, he ended up with 11 carries in the third quarter. I think he ended up with close to 29 or 30 carries. That's a lot. He's listed at only 5'7". He's just under 200 pounds. But he is an incredibly hard worker. He is actually, for the 40, the fastest Knight on the program. Like, Keegan LaBelle is the fastest runner and sprinter on that team. And there's some pretty strong athletes there. Wow. He's a workhorse. And the last 2 years, they have been comfortable giving him the ball 20 plus times a game, where Charles Salary in 2019 was the last real true single back carrier. throughout the years, Marion's always had maybe a double alternate series, but LaBelle has taken it on his shoulders, and he's become that guy that they can hand it to 20, 25, 30 times. And that's, as you mentioned, defense. That's history too in Marion with Tevin Lake and Charles Salary and guys that can carry the ball that many times. And LaBelle now, who's third all time in the school history in rushing, he's become one of those guys.
All right, Scott, as we wrap up this time, and again, I'm so thankful that you took some time on a Sunday night to talk about Marion football. The next week, then you got a couple of games ahead. Next week is Madonna, who does now have a win on the field. So, you have to prepare for them. It's not just something that's a look-ahead game. You have to play the game, and I'm sure they'll be ready to play and actually finally be back home for the first time this season. Mm-hmm. You'll all be on the road for that, and then you take on Taylor the week after that. Talk about the upcoming games.
Yeah, so you have Madonna this week, and you're right. They've won a game. You have to be prepared, and you have to go in there and you have to execute. You want to get off to a good start, have a good, strong win against Madonna. And then in 2 weeks, under the lights at Taylor, and that triple option. And candidly, Marion won 8 games last year. It was the first time they had won 8 and missed the playoffs. But, a last-second win on the road against Lawrence Tech, an overtime win against Taylor. And, Joey, if Taylor managed the clock better last year, they would have beat Marion. Mm-hmm. They just had some missteps late, a young team trying to figure things out. They'll want that game in 2 weeks under the lights. So it's going to be a completely different look with that rush game. So that'll be a completely different challenge. And then 3 weeks after that, it's homecoming. It'll be the 10-year celebration of the 2015 National Championship team against St. Francis. So your big rivals, the Cougars, will come on in. So it's going to be a big stretch. You have Madonna, and then you're going to have in-state with Taylor and St. Francis. It'll be a big stretch there throughout October.
Well, then tell us where we find you. If we want to watch or listen to the Marion Knights in 2025, and of course, a great Scott McCauley call, where are they going to find you?
ISC Sports Network. It's a great platform all across central Indiana that does, of course, lots of high school Friday night and high school athletics, but they do an incredible 5-camera setup for Marion broadcast, including a drone, which does incredible footage of the city and campus. So the ISC Sports Network, it's pretty sweet. And I appreciate you giving us that chance, Joey.
Hey, happy to do it. And I hope that we get a chance to talk with you again sometime soon. Scott McCauley, thank you so much for talking about the Knights. The Knights get the victory, stopping a 4-game slide against Indiana Wesleyan. And on top of that, the season looks pretty solid. So you're going to be heading into to divisional and conference play very soon, and some big games ahead. And congratulations again on the not only the win, but the opportunity to celebrate 10 years from a national championship too. Thank you again for your time tonight, Scott.
And thank you for what you're doing, Joey. Appreciate it.
All right. As we let Scott go back to his life tonight and what he has going on a Sunday night, we'll go ahead and get through things here. I'm looking at some of the equipment. We have a lot to talk about, and I am hoping that all of this equipment holds through for the next little bit. So I may run, but we can't run too quickly without saying hi to the folks who are already in the chat. Robert, you are, you're on time tonight. How about that? No, Robert, we appreciate you being there and a part of what's going on. Have Matt, and even though the comments did come up just a little bit short, it's still a great day to be a comment. Always a great day to be a comment. No doubt about that. Roll Stangs, that's of course exactly what they did. Roger, thank you for being here with us tonight and getting to hear, I'm sure, a familiar voice in Scott McCauley. And Jake is the man. Jake is definitely the man, no doubt about that. Rudolph, thank you for coming in and being a part of what's going on as the Bulldogs are on a roll right there. ISC, thank you, Roger. And I've listened to and watched some ISC broadcasts, and they are quality broadcasts. Really like that. Leo, thank you for being in and being with the chat tonight. Jeff, we're going to drop your name a little bit later on tonight. You do want to stick around for that. And Charles, always here. Well, Charles, I'm glad you're always here. I appreciate you being here and being a part of the broadcast as well. We have a lot to get to, so let's do that right now as we look ahead. 94 points, 52-42, 94 points. If you thought 92 points was the most points scored in a game, or were the most points, I guess the score is a was. There's your subject-verb agreement there. If you thought that was the most points scored in a game, you would be wrong. First off, there were 2 games that had 94 points scored in them, And secondly, there was one that, well, it topped the century mark. So let's go really quickly down the list. Faulkner is now 3-1, 41-15 over Union Commonwealth. For Faulkner, it's the most points in 3 seasons. And by the way, talking about most points, how about this? Here's a reference for you. Faulkner and Union Commonwealth, that game, you go back to 2011, that's the most points ever scored in an NAI game. 95-89, Faulkner over Union Commonwealth in that game. And that means 9 straight wins over Union as a whole, starting with that one back in 2011. Salation Slaughter, 4 catches for 30 yards. He had 1 receiving touchdown for Union Commonwealth, but he also had a 79-yard punt return, which is the longest in AAC history. That was for Union Commonwealth. Eli Moore led the way for Faulkner, 10 of 17 passing for 90 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no picks. Bluefield, trying to get another win. They're not able to do it against an NCCAA opponent in Virginia, Lynchburg, 43-42. And the Dragons got a 1-yard touchdown with less than 2 minutes remaining. They went for 2. They got it. U-Pike falls to 0-4. Without a doubt, the best 0-4 team in the country in NAIA, and there aren't too many teams left without that first win, as there were 8 again that picked up their first win of the season this week. U-Pike, unfortunately, not one of those. Xavier Malone doing what he does. He's averaging 371 yards passing a game, had 373 yards passing on Saturday, 1 touchdown, no picks. Amon Williams, 15 carries for 87 yards, a couple of touchdowns on the ground. Jordan Williams with a receiving touchdown for Pikeville, but just falls short to Maryville, 34-30 in that one. And by the way, I would point out, I think the AAC might be in a little bit of trouble right now because Pikeville's 0-4. You know this Bears team is good. They are putting up the numbers. Unfortunately, the ones on the scoreboard aren't quite enough, and I think that Pikeville's going to be coming in hot to this conference schedule as it gets going a little bit later on. So watch out, AAC. Pikeville last year made it to the playoffs after winning the AAC, went in 5-5 and won in the first round of the football championship series of the NAIA as well. So just something to think about. Florida Memorial got its first win of the season. So first win for Coach Michael Jones, first win versus Cumberland ever. A home opener saw Florida Memorial with a 24-19 victory. David Boggs, 18 for 26 passing, 235 passing yards, and a touchdown. Jared Sims, the D1 transfer from Southern, 17 carries for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. So there we go. It played for the first time since the season opener against Reinhardt. For Sims, the Division I transfer, a solid day. Also a great running back. Cumberland's Jacob Cornejo, 22 carries, 148 rushing yards, and 1 touchdown in the loss for the Phoenix. First loss of the year for Cumberland. Cumberland's gets the win, 3-1 now on the year, 27-14 over Warner, and the Royals are still winless on the season. Drew Gregg, 64.7% passing completion, 216 yards per game. That's what he's done. The man is a grown man. We do not have the box score from that, but we do have the final as the Patriots win and go to 3-1. St. Francis of Indiana, 3-1 now on the season with a 37-34 victory over Defiance. This one went back and forth. Homecoming in Fort Wayne, and as it went back and forth, Defiance took the lead in the fourth quarter on a 64-yard pass play, but St. Francis took the ball 72 yards in 8 plays and a 3-yard touchdown run, the game winner with 3:19 remaining. Azariah Wallace, 14 carries for 138 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns in the win for St. Francis. And Ethan Thanthanavong, 12 of 24 passing, 257 for Defiance, 3 passing touchdowns. He had a rushing touchdown as well. The Cougars win 37-34 over the Yellow Jackets. St. Francis of Illinois get a big win as well. 66-13 over Madonna. The Fighting Saints are now 2-2 on the year. The Crusaders now 1-3. For Madonna, the 13 points, both the scores came as scoop and score touchdowns. So congratulations to the defense there for the Crusaders. We talked about this here on the channel before. We knew they were going to have a decent defense. Not enough for the Fighting Saints, though. Nathan Mall, 17 of 30 passing, 230 passing yards, and a couple of touchdowns. And for the Fighting Saints, 5 separate players had a rushing touchdown on the night. You know, it's time to get rid of the earphones there, since we don't have anyone to talk to for the rest of the night. You can still talk, by the way, in the chat. We don't need the headphones for that. Olivet Nazarene, 37. Siena Heights, 29. The Tigers are 3-1 now for Coach Mitchell. Christian Dew Reed, 20 of 36 passing, 311 passing yards, 2 touchdowns through the air. He also carried in 2 touchdowns as well. DJ Young for Siena Heights, a 90-yard kickoff return in the fourth quarter to try to get the Saints back into it. Just not quite enough. Olivet Nazarene with the win. We talked about Taylor a little bit earlier. They're 3-1 on the season now after a 63-7 beatdown of Judson. Taylor now 4-0 all-time against the Eagles. They've won 7 of their last 8 games, got 35 points in the second quarter. Nathan Parker continues to lead the way. 12 carries, 136 yards rushing, and a couple of rushing touchdowns, spoiling homecoming for Judson this year. St. Xavier, the Cougars now 2-2 after a 31-10 win over Lawrence Tech. St. Xavier 4-0 all-time against the Lawrence Tech Blue Devils. Tyrese Lee, 19 carries, 155 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns for St. Xavier. And we are moving on then into the Heart. Before we do, let me stop and say hi. If you are watching us live tonight, go ahead and let us know that you're here in the chat. Tell us who your favorite NAIA team is, or maybe from where you are watching tonight. And if you have the opportunity and you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do that as well. It's always fun to see the subscribers come in, and the channel is growing, and that number is growing a lot in the last 2 months alone. The things we want to do here on the channel, we can't do without you, so I'm grateful for you stopping by tonight and watching, and for subscribing to the channel. To the Heart, William Penn, 5-0 for the first time since 2012. They went 7-0 that year to start the season and made the playoffs. That's the last time a playoff appearance for the Statesmen. They win over Culver Stockton 48-21 the final. Destin Loring, 25 carries, 142 yards, 5 rushing touchdowns that tied a school record. For Culver Stockton, needed to hang on to the ball just a little bit better. 3 turnovers on the day, and all of them led to William Penn touchdowns. Kyle Dixon, the receiver, 9 catches for 119 yards. He had a receiving touchdown for the Wildcats in the loss. Grandview, 63. St. Ambrose, 3. A number that really probably shouldn't be that big a surprise. Grandview continues to roll. The streak is now at 64 consecutive regular season wins, 64 consecutive Heart Conference wins, 18 consecutive wins overall coming off of last season. And Grandview scored double digits in all 4 quarters against the Fighting Bees on Saturday. Jackson Waring, 13 of 22 passing, 314 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, did not throw an interception, had 5 carries as well, and a rushing touchdown too. Curtis Horace, 3 catches for 97 yards for the Vikings. 2 of them were for touchdowns. Again, Grandview 4-0 on the season. Number 1 team in the country without question. Benedictine 4-1 now on the year after a 70-30 victory over Peru State. Told you 94 points wasn't the highest scoring output of the Saturday. There's 100 points that were put on the board in Atchison. Jackson Dooley, 15 of 26 passing, 359 passing yards, 4 through the air, had a rushing touchdown as well. Dooley now has 17 passing touchdowns on the season. That is second in the NAI. For Peru State, C.J. Dixon, who threw 7 touchdown passes last week, threw 3 this week as well and had a rushing touchdown in the loss for the Bobcats, who fall to 3-2. Mid-America Nazarene, 4-1 on the year now, with a 41-39 victory over Missouri Baptist. The Pioneers are 3-0 all-time against the Spartans. 1,046 yards of combined total offense in this. And of that, the 2 teams combined to put up 702 yards through the air. And one of the biggest touchdowns, I wish I had the video for this one, saw this online. You should check out Mid-America Nazarene's Twitter account. A ball tipped off Ion Carter into the hands of Zane Hall in the end zone. Big-time touchdown there. And, of course, the Pioneers needed all the points they could get with a 2-point victory over Missouri Baptist. Drew Miller, 22 of 36 passing for 369 passing yards on the day, 2 touchdowns, and Devin Andrew had an 84-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. I believe that's the third kickoff return for a touchdown this season for the Pioneers. I think Carter had the other 2. Jacob Jones, 16 of 31 passing, 333 yards, and a couple of touchdowns in the loss for the Spartans. Baker is now 1-3 and didn't know that it was going to be something that was that exciting at the start of the season. Baker 0-3 coming in. The Wildcats pick up their first win of the year against Missouri Valley on the road. The Vikings now 3-2, 38-28. The Wildcats win. These are the 2 winningest programs in NAIA football. Truman Julesgaard seems to get better and better since that very first weekend. He's now 13 of 18 passing on Saturday, 192 passing yards, threw only 1 touchdown, but didn't have an interception this week. Also, he had a rushing touchdown, so props to Julesgaard for that. Gabe Martin, 19 carries for 87 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns for Missouri Valley. Silas Morton, also with 2 rushing touchdowns on the day, had 80 rushing yards. Clark picks up its first win of the season and do it on the road at Graceland. First win for Clark, and also it's a Hart North win for the Pride as well. 37-30 in this one. Caleb Perry, 27 carries for 95 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. C.J. Brooks injured in the second quarter. He went out and he did not come back. And though we appreciate very much Charles being here still with us tonight, watching that, we're wanting the best and praying for C.J., want him to be well. He was 12 of 23 passing when he left in the second quarter, 144 yards and a touchdown. Javon Minor had to step up the game a lot. 26 carries, 172 rushing yards, and a touchdown. Not enough for the Yellow Jackets against the Pride, who do, again, pick up their first win of the season. Central Methodist now has 2 wins in a season for the first time since 2021, 52-24 over winless William Woods. Darius Shakur George, 10 carries, 73 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns for the Eagles in the win, and Bryson Neely had 6 catches for 163 yards and 1 receiving touchdown in the loss for the Owls, still trying to pick up a win this year. Morningside, Roll Stangs, right, Jeff? Well, they did just that, 41-31 at Hastings, and the Mustangs are 3-1. The Broncos now 2-3. Zach Chevalier, 33 of 45 passing for 381 yards, 4 passing touchdowns on the day. Found Drew Sellen 6 times, 98 receiving yards for Sellen. He had a receiving touchdown. Lennox Brown, 10 catches for 116 yards. He had 2 receiving touchdowns too. For Hastings, Caden Merriman, part of that backfield that is too strong, and he was 9 carries for 99 yards, just missed that century mark, 2 rushing touchdowns for him. The Mustangs are now 3-1, and they're looking to keep that record in the GPAC unscathed. We'll be pushing into the month of October and talking more about that on Thursday night. Dort also unscathed in the GPAC and undefeated on the year at 3-0 with the first ever victory over Northwestern, 21-20 in Orange City. And I think these numbers really say it here as Dort came to play. Total offense, Dort 412, Northwestern 257. First downs, Dort 21, Northwestern 12. Third down conversions, Dort 6 of 17, Northwestern 3 of 11. Fourth down conversions, Dort 2 of 2, Northwestern didn't go for it on fourth down. And you look at those numbers and Northwestern was still ahead, 20-14 late in this contest. The defenders just did not give up. Northwestern went up 17-0 in the first half, and it was a Keenan Valverde halfback pass to Elliott Beal for Dort to get on the board just before the end of the half. Noah Strickfaden, 17 of 29 for 245 through the air, had 2 touchdown passes, but 3 interceptions as well. And again, there's that Northwestern defense. We've talked about both of these defenses coming in strong. 3 points total in last year's game. Well, they put 41 on the board this year as well. And yes, we will talk about that in the Bet the Barn segment a little bit later on. Gardner Casey led the Red Raiders in rushing and receiving, 15 carries for 57 yards, had a touchdown and 4 catches as well. And Gianna Barrett, 2 of 2 field goals for Northwestern, looked like it might be enough to be the winning margin, those 6 points there. She's also 11 for 11 with extra point attempts over the course of the season. Her field goals of 26 and 36 yards in Saturday's game. And yes, I did say Gianna Barrett, the kicker for Northwestern, having a solid season, but just enough of the defenders on offense. They got exactly what they needed to win, needed only 1 point, got it near the very end. And again, we'll talk about the numbers at the end, but props to Dort for overcoming an 18-0 lopsided disadvantage in the series with Northwestern until now. And for Coach Penner, again, I've talked about it regularly here on the channel, but you should watch the growth from year one of the program to when Coach Penner got there. And now it continues to go up and up and up and may plateau off and up and may plateau off. Really, there's nowhere left to go for Coach Penner but to win the GPAC and make it into the playoffs. We'll see how 2025 plays out. This one should be fun. Dave and Jeff and all the Roll Stangs folks when it comes to be Morningside and Dort a little bit later on. Doane also getting the first win of the season with a 19-18 victory over Midland. Doane safety, then a Doane touchdown, 2-point failed, so they fall down 10-8. Doane gets a field goal and goes up 11-10, then a Midland touchdown with a 2-point conversion to make it 18-11, and Doane with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion also to go up 19-18 in this one. Sam Hartman to John DeRiso, 19 yards out with 24 seconds left, and again, Coach Johnson goes for 2, gets the win, gets the points, 19-18. Big-time win for Doane in this one in an interstate rivalry. Concordia, undefeated at 3-0. The Bulldogs, they are making a statement in the GPAC as well. Well, they had a favorable matchup against Waldorf, 54-0, the final score though there as Waldorf winless on the season. Concordia, the first ever trip to Forest City, and Concordia has now won 8 straight against Waldorf. Concordia is averaging 31 points a game coming in. Waldorf was averaging 2.5 points a game coming in. That average has gone down to 2.0 points a game. Calvin Sassaman for the Bulldogs, 20 carries, 125 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and Adam Van Cleve, 6 catches for 121 yards through the air, 2 receiving touchdowns. Peyton Atwood had a 50-yard field goal in this one as well. That is a school record for the Bulldogs. Gideon Stark on the day, 3 passing touchdowns, no picks. Briar Cliff, 21. Dakota Wesleyan, 7. It was homecoming in Sioux City, and the Chargers get the victory in homecoming. Jaden Westbrook, 4 catches for 88 yards. 2 of those were receiving touchdowns from Brock Saya. Cole Holden, by the way, for Dakota Wesleyan, 9 catches for 147 yards. To the KCAC, McPherson, 5-0 now on the year, and took down Ottawa 70-28. The 90th meeting of these two programs goes to the Bulldogs. Ryan Markarian, 13 of 19 passing for 287 yards through 5 touchdown passes, had 1 pick on the day. That's 98 points. How about 94 points again? Southwestern, 80. Bethany, 14. The Bulldogs, the Mound Builders are 4-1 now on the year. The Swedes fall to 2-3. It is the 8th straight win in the series for Southwestern. Jamie Odom had himself a day. 13 of 16 passing, 416 yards through the air, 81.3% completions on the day, 6 touchdowns through the air, no interceptions. Oh, by the way, he carried the ball 3 times for a rushing touchdown as well. He averaged 32.0 yards per completion. He's now tops in the NAI with 18 passing touchdowns for the season. Matthew Holthusen, 6 catches for 250 yards. I think I went through that too fast. Matthew Holthusen had 6 catches for 250 yards. 3 of those catches were for touchdowns. He averaged 41.7 yards per reception. Big-time numbers on the day for Southwestern. They go to 4-1 on the season with a 66-point victory over Bethany. Sterling and Avila. Someone had to win in this one. It was the Warriors. 29-17 over the Eagles. First win of the season for Sterling. They move to 1-4 right now. Armando Juarez, 7 catches for 110 yards. He had a receiving touchdown. He also had a passing touchdown late in the first half to get the scoring going. And by the way, for Sterling in this, of the 4 touchdowns that were scored for the Warriors, only 2 came from the quarterback, Rockland Baptista. 1, again, came from Juarez, a receiver throwing a pass, and the other came from running back Jaden Briscoe in this one. So a big win for Sterling at home against Avila. Friends, 5-0 on the year. Evangel has dropped to 3-2. Last year, Evangel had only 2 losses. They were in back-to-back games. Evangel has now lost in back-to-back games. So seeing if the Valor can turn things around next week. They're shut out in this one. 53-0. The Falcons make a statement. Second shutout this season. Second shutout in 3 games for that Friends Falcons defense. 474 rushing yards. Yes, we'll talk about that in the Bet the Barn segment a little bit later on. 2,471 rushing yards on the season. Truett Bossier, 3 for 3 field goals for the Falcons. 6 for 6 on point after opportunities. Bossier had 15 points on the day. Evangel was held to a net negative 13 yards rushing. And that really pretty much sums it up. It was one of those things. And yes, it was a crazy weekend. Tabor moves to 2-3 now. 28-19 over previously undefeated Kansas Wesleyan. The Blue Jays are now 2-3. Again, had lost to Southwestern, McPherson, and Friends in the 3 previous games, and they just took it out on the Coyotes in this one. Tabor went up 28-6 going into the fourth quarter. Kansas Wesleyan got 13 in that quarter, but it was just not enough. The rally not there. Ahmad Bailey, 22 of 34 passing, 223 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, threw 1 pick on the day. But those 4 passing touchdowns were all to A.J. King, 12 catches, 155 yards receiving. Bethel moves to 1-4 on the season. The Threshers, 38-37 over St. Mary. Bethel gets its first win of the season, and Houston Heron went 24 of 31, passing for 188 yards, 3 touchdowns, threw 1 pick. Trevon Madison, 12 catches, 119 yards receiving, 3 receiving touchdowns, had a rushing touchdown as well. The final receiving touchdown was the game winner with 6 seconds left. And, of course, the Threshers went for 2. They get it, 38-37. Big win for Bethel in that one. Hey, listen, we have the top 5 performances coming up. That's going to be a little bit later on the program, and then our Bet the Barn segment coming up as well. Tool Envy, glad to see you in the chat as well. And Matt, we'll go ahead and put this up here really quickly. Matt says he has no sympathy for Waldorf. Their joining the GPAC was huge in the demise of the North Star. That was a factor. It was definitely a factor, Matt, and it makes for some interesting travel now for the folks in the North Star as well. Tool Envy says, Friends is a problem. It's a problem if you're anyone else in the KCAC, and quite possibly a problem for anyone else who may happen to be going along in the playoffs this year. All right, let me see if I can get the graphic up here. Making sure I have the graphic online because I'm concerned I'm going to lose one of my monitors here in a little bit. So, yeah. All right, there we go. Let's get to these really quickly. Let's see. I have to talk quickly. I'll do that. Sooner Athletic Conference, Texas Wesleyan 37, Nelson 21. Big game within the SAC. The Rams go to 2-2 now on the year, and the Lions fall to 1-3. Cole Francis in at quarterback for the Rams. 15 of 26 passing, 190 yards through the air, 3 passing touchdowns. But Texas Wesleyan also forced 4 interceptions on the day. Avery Crawford by himself had 2, and that's big. Judah Holtzclaw, 24 of 42 passing, 325 passing yards, had 3 passing touchdowns for Nelson, but threw those 4 picks. That's a big deal, and can't have that if you're Nelson. So Texas Wesleyan with the win and trying to get a leg up there in the Sooner Athletic Conference, as is Louisiana Christian. The Wildcats are now 3-0 in SAC play, 56-27 over Oklahoma Panhandle out in Goodwill. Bryce Perkins, 21 of 30 passing, 299 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and Datlin Cunningham had 18 carries for 151 yards and 1 rushing touchdown for Louisiana Christian. Wayland Baptist, we talked about point totals. We said that 94 wasn't the biggest. 98's not the biggest. 100 isn't the biggest. How about 120? 73-47 against Texas College. The Steers are now 0-5. Wayland Baptist picks up its second win of the season. For the Pioneers, most points in a game. 10 touchdowns tied the record for most touchdowns in a game. And Wayland Baptist's defense also found a way to pick the ball off 4 times in another Sooner Athletic Conference matchup. Kalen Davis, the freshman quarterback for the Pioneers, for the second consecutive week threw 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. However, 13 of 23 passing, 271 yards. Kiamadre Horace, 10 carries for 132 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns for the Pioneers. And for Texas College, here's the number that says this is why you might still be winless. Tylen Crotchet, 21 of 51 passing, 342 passing yards. In and of itself, that looks good. 5 passing touchdowns, but 4 interceptions. And that's a tough number to overcome. Arkansas Baptist won in an exhibition game against Community Christian College. Dakota State, 11. Southern Oregon, 10. In the first meeting between these two, that's the outcome, 11-10. Southern Oregon scored 10 points in the second quarter. Dakota State scored 6 in the first, got a safety in the third, and then a field goal to win it in the fourth quarter. It was Dakota State's 7-play, 48-yard drive with 1 minute and 19 seconds. That was all they took off the clock because they didn't have much time left to work. Fourth quarter winding down, 48-yard drive culminated with an Adrian Villanueva 35-yard field goal with 12 seconds left in this one. How about Trey Heddick, who's back in the saddle for the Trojans? 21 of 32 passing, 262 yards passing, and threw a touchdown as well. Valley City State 3-1 on the year. They get the win over Simpson, who has fallen to 0-4, but it's competitive. 27-21. It was homecoming in Valley City, and the Vikings went up 24-0. You think Simpson winless on the year? They might just, go away. They did not go away. Did not go quietly into the night. For Valley City State, Joey Cave, another good day, 16-29 passing, 153 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. For Simpson, 5 different players threw a pass in this game. Caleb Anderson, who's been going back and forth with Moreno for that, trying to get time spot for Coach Daniel. It's not really been a 2-quarterback system. Well, maybe in the opening couple of games, but it's been more Caleb Anderson of late. And really, Saturday's game, I think, went a long way for Anderson as he was 17 of 23 passing, better than 75%, 190 passing yards, didn't throw a touchdown, but ran 3 across for scores, 12 carries for 89 yards. He accounted for all 3 of the touchdowns for Simpson. But not to take away from Valley City State, 3-1 the Vikings are now with that victory. Arizona Christian, another team to get its first win of the season. And they had to travel a long, long way to do it, all the way to Mayville State. Sorry about that, guys. All my Comets fans in the chat. Well, 21-20, homecoming in Mayville, spoiled as Arizona Christian, if they drove it, which they didn't. But if they did, it'd have been a 1,678 mile drive. Be a few more yards than that. Anyway, no, they did not drive it. First one of the season for 2025 for Arizona Christian. They now won it to Josh Bell, 12 of 17 passing, 171 yards through the air, threw for a touchdown, rushed for a touchdown as well. Ty Cole, 16 carries for 100 yards, and his 8-yard touchdown run with 57 seconds in the first half proved to be the game winner because no one scored in the second half. Mayville State had completed 1 pass. That's to be expected. This has gone to really a ground attack in that option look for Coach Larson. And let's see right here. Matt, let's get your comment up there. Arizona Christian won the turnover battle including a huge fumble recovery deep in the red zone when the Comets were poised to take the lead. Yeah, the turnover battle, that was big. It was huge in so many games over the course of Saturday as well. And it's tough then when you are so reliant on the running game. And for someone who lives in the state of Oklahoma and watched the Sooners for years and years and years, especially back in the 70s and 80s, you rely on that ground game. It's tough to be able to make up the points when you need them late in the game to throw the ball. And again, 1 for 8 passing on the day, 1 completion, but just not enough. So there we go. All right. Let's see. I'm going to put this up there, Tool Envy. I'm going to put this one up there, but it may not stay up there for long. The most symmetrical head in NAI coverage. Something to behold. Okay, we'll take that. Wow, that got me distracted. And Tool Envy, I'm trying to get through this fast tonight because I'm concerned one of these monitors is going to run out of battery. How about this one? Montana Western 41-31 over, or 41-21 over Dickinson State. That 41-31, that was the Morningside score. The Bulldogs now 3-1 on the season. Palandry, how about 16 for 22, 376 yards passing, 5 passing touchdowns, ran 1 in as well. Seth Shook, 3 catches for 124 yards. All 3 catches were for touchdowns. And Eli Norris, 10 catches for 199 yards. His 2 receiving touchdowns, a big part of the win for Montana Western. Montana Tech, we alluded to the fact that they went 5-0. Let's just outright say it. They are 5-0 now on the season. First time in program history, 27-24, a win over College of Idaho. And that was a tough win, big time win. And that's where you get things done in that crossover, cross-divisional play there now in the Frontier Conference. Everything is still wide open because they haven't gotten to divisional play now. Still, all the opportunities to make it in the playoffs are there for everyone. But Montana Tech, led by Jarrett Wilson, 15 of 22 passing, 188 passing yards. He had 2 passing touchdowns and 1 as he carried the ball 17 times for 108 yards, had a rushing touchdown too. Levi Torgerson, 8 catches for 92 yards. He did not have a touchdown, and yes, we're going to mention that again here in just a moment. But Torgerson, a big day nonetheless for the Ore Diggers. Caden Young, 21 of 38 passing, 320 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, had 2 picks on the day as well. And Travis Mary Arrow, I practiced that. Should have practiced it more. Travis Arrow, 10 catches, 201 yards receiving, and had a receiving touchdown too. Montana Tech hasn't trailed in a game this season. That's really something. Montana State Northern, first win of the season for the Lights. They're now 1-4 with a 23-7 victory over Eastern Oregon. Spencer Lenners with 2 pick sixes. Got them both in the third quarter. He broke open a game that was a 7-7 tie at the half. 1 for 15 yards in for the score, 1 for 25 yards in for the score, and the Lights get their first win of the season. And finally, Carroll with a 27-13 victory over Rocky Mountain. 119th meeting between the two programs, and Carroll is now 91-26-2 all time. Homecoming in Helena, and I do actually have a picture for this one. Let's put this one up here if we can. How about this? That looks sweet. That looks sweet. Do you know what that is? That is Carroll wearing the purple helmets for the first time since 1998. Photo by Gary Marshall and used courtesy Carroll College Sports. It's also was the first night homecoming game in Carroll, and it was also a game that was played without a scoreboard. So they went through a lot there in Helena to get this one done, but they got it done. In fact, 27-13, the final score. Caden Hewitt, 22 of 31 passing, 301 passing yards, 3 touchdowns through the air for Hewitt. And it was a big day. Chris Ackleshan, 7 catches, 107 yards receiving, a touchdown. Carson Ochoa, 8 catches for 102 yards receiving too. For Rocky Mountain, well, couple of field goals for Austin Drake, one from 25 and one for 31. And that is the Week 5 slate. As we have talked about, everyone, only about 40 games this week. That should be more next week. And then you're going to get into the bye week for, I believe, the KCAC and it used to be the KCAC and the Heart at the same time. I don't know if they're all taking that week, but we'll get to that. That's in the month of October. We'll get there as well. So let's talk really quickly about our top 5 performances this week. And we will bring up that graphic. And there it is. Now, I realize there were a couple of big ones that we may have left out. However, we wanted to get some new names in this week. So we're going to do that. We've not ever used the MSU Northern graphic. We're using it tonight. Spencer Lenners, 2 pick sixes. And we've said here on the program many times, if you get more than 1 pick six in a game, you're going to be in the top 5 performances, and props to him for that. Props to the Lights for getting the win. How about Ahmad Bailey and A.J. King? 4 touchdown pass connections between the two, and it was enough to get the victory over a previously undefeated team in Kansas Wesleyan. Tabor came in one of what I thought was one of 2 that were the best that had a record of 1-3. This should not be a struggle to say this, but anyway, I'm making it that. However, 2-3 now. 2-3 now with the victory over Kansas Wesleyan. Ahmad Bailey to A.J. King 4 times on the day, and that proved to be enough for the win. How about William Penn's Destin Loring? 25 carries for 142 rushing yards, 5 rushing touchdowns. That tied a school record. The Statesman 5-0 on the year. Grandview, we've talked about Jackson Waring before, but he did account for 6 touchdowns, and it was a big-time win. I don't think we brought up Jackson Waring. If we have, you have to go back a few weeks for that one. So how about 13 of 22 passing for 314 yards through the air, 46 rushing yards, and a touchdown as well to go with 5 passing touchdowns. 6 he accounted for on the day, 360 yards of total offense for Jackson Waring. And finally, Southwestern. Jamie Odom. Let me read these numbers to you again. 13 of 16 passing, 416 passing yards. He completed 81.3% of his passes, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, 32 yards per completion, had 3 carries, 1 rushing touchdown. So he accounted for, on the day, 7 touchdowns. And you can't leave out someone who picks up 41.7 yards per reception. Matthew Holthusen, 6 catches, 3 of them were for touchdowns, 250 receiving yards on the day. Big time day for Matthew Holthusen. And Southwestern should have a little more purple in their background there. Our graphics guy. I don't know. Anyway, all right, let's go to our final segment of the night. And wow, thanks for everyone being here with us tonight. We need to talk about the Bet the Barn segment from Thursday as we bring up this graphic here. How did we do? Well, let me just say that of all the people who played Bet the Barn on Thursday night, and of course we're betting an imaginary barn, no money exchange. This is all about bragging rights, of which I have none. I was the only person who played the game, who got in the chat, got in the comments, gave our Bet the Barn selections with the lines that we're providing for the NAI, since Las Vegas is not doing its part and providing any lines for these games. We're providing lines in these games. And so for the lines that we provided, I went 0-4. And what's even weirder or more frustrating for me, I really thought I had one. I thought that I had picked the over for Friends. I thought that I had them going to be able to carry the ball for more than 449.5 yards. I really thought I had picked that. And on Saturday, watching the game, I'm thinking, hey, just a few more yards and Friends is going to get better than 449. I'm going to win one of these things tonight. I was feeling really good about myself. Friends goes ahead, 474 yards. I went to bed Saturday night thinking, well, at least I won one. And then I went back and watched the video again to make sure I had everyone's picks. And I got to looking at my picks again, and I Went with Dave Sellen. Dave, I'm going to blame you for this one. If you're watching, I went with your pick and said under, but Friends would win the game. And you know what? They got over. So enough about my picks on there. Let's go ahead and let you know really quickly that this week's winners for Bet the Barn, Jeff and Robert. Yes, Robert, you went 2-2. Got your picks in. And Robert, by the way, couldn't watch us live that night, so he got his picks in the comment section. We were able to collect those as well. Jeff went 2-2. Jeff was able to correctly say that Marion would get under 2.5 sacks. They got this many sacks on the day. So we said, would Marion get over under 2.5 sacks against Indiana Wesleyan? They had no sacks. They had absolutely no sacks. So there were a few of you who got that one. Jeff was also able to get the under on Levi Torgerson. Would he go under or over 1/2 of a non-receiving touchdown? Torgerson in this game had no touchdowns. So Jeff was right on that one. And Robert also got the Torgerson call right. And he said over on the Dordt Northwestern game. And it was pretty close. I thought I was going to wind up getting that on the under, and Dordt scored that touchdown in the final moments of the game, and Robert got that call right. So Robert, 2-2 on the week, and Jeff, 2-2 on the week. Those are our winners in the Bet the Barn segment. We're going to do this again on Thursday night. We'll have some more games that we will provide the lines for, since Las Vegas is not doing its job and providing any lines for NAI. We'll take care of that here on college football this week, and we'll have some fun doing it. All right. Man, we went through the day. We're almost to the 1 hour mark. Appreciate so many of you all sticking around and being with us. Let me just say one more time, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do that. Please tell a friend. We have goals, including getting to 5,000 subs by the end of this calendar year. Yes, that's a big goal, but hey, we like to think big here on Midwest Sports Net. And you know what? You guys are so cool. You definitely can help us be a big part of that. So let's wrap it up. Thursday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Mountain. If you're watching us out on the Pacific time zone area, well, it's 6 p.m. for you. So I think there are some people that watch us every now and again out there. But we have another big show lined up. We're going to talk a lot about Week 6. Man, it's Week 6. We're heading for Week 6 already. This season has gone by so quickly, but it's been a lot of fun. And I want to give a shout out really quickly to the folks in the chat tonight. Let's say, hey, Dave, thank you very much. And I threw you under the bus for helping me with that pick, but that's all right. You have a lot to cheer for. Your team is doing well. Tool Envy, hey, thanks. Man, I appreciate you. You guys are the best as well. Shout out to Tool Envy, to Robert tonight. Roger, thank you for being on the broadcast. Roger, we had some Marion conversation. I mean, the whole first 12 minutes of the broadcast was all about Marion. So I hope you enjoyed that as well. And I didn't get this one up here. Oh, there we go. Okay, Tool and Me, I'm going to keep that up there, but I really thought you were talking about the Razor again on that one, so that is all right. Yes, you did. Okay, to keep ahead looking good. Most detailed coverage of small college sports, and to keep ahead looking that good, the guy has talents. Well, I have a family that's cheering me on in that too, so when I say we here on Midwest Sports Net, I totally mean it. Matt, thank you for being a part of the broadcast tonight. Leo, thanks for being on and being here. Robert, I'm glad you were here on time. Charles, we are cheering on your family, and we look forward, hopefully, to a very good report for you guys in the very near future. Rudolph, thanks for coming on tonight and being part of the broadcast. McPherson, definitely on a roll. It's always a great day to be a comment, Matt. Thanks for being on with us tonight as well. And I think that is about it. So let's wrap it up. 8 p.m. on Thursday. If we have the chance to come on with any other interviews, we'd love to get some more things for the summit. We hope that the week allows for that. It is a very, very busy week. As a matter of fact, in my household, not only is it Mrs. Midwest Sportsnet's birthday coming up this week, it is also our anniversary coming up this week. Yeah. So it's a big weekend in the Midwest Sportsnet household. So there's going to be a lot going on. So we'll talk about that more as the week goes on. In the meantime, thank you all so much for watching tonight. The monitors stayed up. Praise God. I really thought, let's check here. Yes, we're down to 1% battery we're wrapping it up right now. God bless you all. Thank you so much for watching tonight, and we appreciate you here at Midwest Sportsnet. Cannot do it without you. I am so thankful for each and every one of you. I mean that. Tell a friend, tell two friends. Let's get this sub count up to 5,000 by the end of 2025. Have a very good night.